I'm just getting my mouth warmed up.
Okay.
Because it's been a long day.
Yeah, it lasted about a week.
It's been a long week today.
Yeah.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the JKWD podcast, where I apologize for my sexy baritone.
Don't apologize for that.
My allergies have taken over, and I do not sound like me, at least to me. Kevin, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, Mr. Shear. I'm kind of concerned about you. You've had a lot happening in the last week there, boss.
Yeah, we have. We did a bunch of traveling and unexpectedly, really. My mother-in-law had an emergency surgery. It's a good thing they did it when they did, and she's got a long road to recovery, but she's doing all right. She's gonna be in some pain for a little while, and she'll be in the hospital for a couple of weeks. And
weeks. Okay.
She actually had my wife asked her what her favorite flower is, and she's like, "Don't send me flowers here. Send them to the house."
Mm-hmm.
And like that totally made sense to me. Like, you don't want the hospital to feel like home. You want it to feel like a very temporary thing. But we found out on a couple of weeks ago on Wednesday that it was happening last Tuesday, and so we're just like, we made arrangements with our respective day jobs, and we got our behinds to an airport on a plane and went to visit. So we took the baby. We were considering not taking the baby, but we took the baby. And so
despite what all that meant, I had fun meeting the baby. So
yeah, good. That's right. She's been used to seeing you on the screen and not like slow to recognize if you're a person. And now that she's seen you this morning, she was pretty responsive to you.
Pretty animated, yeah. Looks like that guy who was messing with me in New York.
That's right.
She was in New York,
And we got to try a new coffee spot.
Yes, we did.
It was a soleil.
And I had my first pour over. Now I know what that is.
Yeah, and you saw that it takes forever to make a pour over. I forgot about that, because you got to keep filling that filter and letting it drip.
Yeah. We might not do that again. Not if we're in a real hurry for coffee.
No, definitely not. I mean, it was very good coffee.
Imagine if
not something
beer like that. No.
Not something that not something we do every day. Not something I do for my coffee every day. The first time I saw a pour over was in Iowa City, Iowa, in 2003. We had got off the highway to eat some breakfast. Mm-hmm. My brother and I were driving across country. He was moving to Los Angeles from Massachusetts, so like, all right, well, we'll make that drive. And we were gonna go to Cracker Barrel, and we couldn't find the exit. So we got off the highway in Iowa City, and we were like, well, we give this a try. We didn't have GPS or anything, and smartphones weren't invented yet. So
that was a while back then, huh?
Yeah, well, the first iPhone was 2007, and that was really just an iPod that made phone calls. So,
wow.
We didn't have the Googles on our phones in our pockets, so we were like, oh, Iowa City, that's a college town. Let's get off at the university exit and see if we can find something. So my brother and I, who both have shaved heads, found a place called Baldy's, where the guy behind the counter also had a shaved head.
Oh.
And we had some breakfast burritos, and then we saw this cafe across the street, so we walked across the street and ordered some coffee, and then we saw them line up all these little cups and do pour-overs. And we're like, never seen that before. And we learned about it in Iowa City.
Just goes to show you.
Yeah. I don't know what it goes to show you.
All over the world.
I don't know what it goes to show you, but...
You can learn something anywhere, Mr. Shear. How you like that? Well, that's good. We had one. Like I said, I don't know if I'll do it again because normally when I want my coffee...
I want now.
Although, I've got a French press-ups downstairs.
Yeah?
I do. And I haven't used it in a long time. I will say the first time I used one or had or got coffee from one, you can put some reasonably cheap coffee in there and have a really good cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But again, I haven't found the right grounds. And then again, when I go to drink my coffee, I just want to pour it in a cup.
Right. Yeah. It's one of the reasons we decided on a Keurig the last time we had to go replace our coffee pot. That's
close to pour over.
Yeah, no, not really.
Technically.
I mean, you brew one cup at a time, but
yeah,
that's about the extent of it.
I was trying. I was really trying,
But yeah, I can just put the thing in there, press start. By the time I go turn back around, I get a hot cup of coffee.
Yeah, it works. And it even gurgles.
Although I will say that at least 3 times a week, I walk away to do something, and as I hear it, I go, oh no, did I put a cup down?
No, you don't. Do you? So,
I do.
Have you ever not put a cup down?
I have never not put a cup down. I've always put a cup under there, and just several times a week, I don't remember putting the cup under there. Like the way that some people don't remember the drive to work, they just remember that they got in their car.
Yep.
And then they got to work like they're on autopilot. Yeah, I'm like that with my coffee. I don't have to worry about being like that on my commute to work, since it's really from the coffee pot 12 steps over to my desk.
I will tell you that there have been a number of times when I, using my coffee pot, have forgotten to put coffee in.
I used to do that all the time.
And so I would have a very nicely hot a pot of almost clear water.
Yeah.
That's annoying.
Yeah, well, and coffee pots most of them take just long enough for a good amount of anticipation.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like so you press start and you walk away. You get about 10, 12 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have that. And, so you go off to do something else, and maybe 6, 7, 8 minutes later, you're like, oh, that's right, I got coffee coming.
Yeah.
And then you hear the coffee pot finish up, and you're like, yum. And then you get down there, and you're like,
I normally have a couple more syllables in mind. Yeah, exactly. So, we're just going to have to get better at that.
Yeah. And if coffee isn't necessarily your thing, or you want to try something new, you could go over and get some bone broth from Kettle and Fire. Get some yummy chipotle chicken. I think that's what they got.
They got Chipotle.
I think that's what they got at Chipotle. Did they do the Chipotle with the beef or the chicken? I'm not sure whether they did the Chipotle with the beef or the chicken. I should just get some and find out.
Yeah. Because I like Chipotle. That's good stuff.
Yeah, it's a nice smoky pepper with a tiny bit of a bite to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I really I was doing that with cayenne pepper in the beef broth anyway.
Oh, were you?
So yeah, but you want to try this stuff out, you can get 10% off. KettleandFire.com. Use code BetterHumanhood at checkout for 10% off your order. And that's any order. You don't have to. It's not just your first order. You go to KettleandFire.com.
Every time, huh?
Fill up your box. Code BetterHumanhood at checkout. Try you something new, or just go back and order it again if you're out of your last order.
The same one that you liked last time.
That's right.
Sounds like an idea. I mean, a plan. That's what I meant. Plan, idea, same thing.
Yeah.
Almost.
Well,
I'll play the music.
All right. Josh and Kelvin World Domination Podcast, where we talk about better humanhood and teach you how to dominate your world. You ready? Here we go.
Anyway, what are we talking about today, Mr. Shear?
Well, I think midsummer's a tough time. Here in Georgia, it gets super hot, and and I think you had a few 100-degree days this summer, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think we've had 100-degree days, but we got
way up there.
I think we got one, but we've been getting mid to upper 90s, which is not typical for.
And I mean, it's less humid in upstate New York than it is here, but you it's not comfy, right? Even without the humidity.
No.
And it's easy to just pour yourself a glass of iced tea and sit in the air conditioning and not do anything.
Uh-huh.
And I think a lot of us are doing that with our lives.
Oh?
It's a little bugaboo that we'll call complacency.
I haven't heard bugaboo in quite some time, Mr. Shear. What?
I don't know why.
You pulled that one up.
I think what I'm doing is I'm searching for words that in another couple of months I'm going to have to start saying in front of my child.
Instead of the ones you use now.
Because the ones I use now, she can't repeat in public, or at least shouldn't repeat in public.
Although you did tell me there were times when there might be a test to find out if she was actually justified. I don't.
Yeah, well, if she uses them correctly and it's the most appropriate word, then I'm not gonna argue with her. But
we won't go through any examples right this moment. No.
Well, my niece came home one day a couple of weeks ago and said a word commonly used to describe female genitalia, and my niece being 3 years old.
Gotcha.
Her parents were not happy.
No progressives in your world, huh?
And so, yeah.
So which day school teacher did she find that from?
It turns out that she learned it from another student who had heard it at home.
Got it.
From another 3-year-old who obviously got context, but not definition.
Got it.
Yeah.
That was good conversation. All right. Well, won't be none of that here.
No. So a bugaboo
because
that we're going to call
complacency. You teach context and
Yeah.
Anyway.
So this bugaboo here. This is going to be the longest episode
ever
done before we get to the point.
Man.
Complacency.
Yes, sir.
According to dictionary.com, is a feeling of quiet pleasure or security, often while unaware of some potential danger, defect, or the like. Self-satisfaction or smug satisfaction with an existing situation, condition, etc.
Especially.
So, to sum up, essentially, complacency is I seem to be happy right now because I'm comfortable and I have no idea that there could potentially be some danger lurking around the corner. Right.
Correct.
So, if you are, I'll take a job example. Mm-hmm. Here's one that happens more often than it should. I was working at a sandwich shop in Massachusetts when I was in college.
All right.
I think there are still some Blimpies around. I don't know what part of the world they are, but I was working at a Blimpie.
Uh-huh.
And one night I closed up, and the next morning I get a call from a manager. Said, "Hey, was everything still here when you closed up last night?" I say, "Yeah, why? What's missing?" And she said, "The refrigerators, the oven, everything's gone."
Oh.
Yeah, well, it turns out, we were all just going about our business, being complacent, knowing that a paycheck was coming. The owner decided he wasn't making any money, and instead of telling everybody, he just came in the middle of the night, took everything out, and closed the store.
I love people like that. I've heard stories about stuff like
that. So that happens a lot, and it doesn't have to be that shocking. Some companies announce layoffs weeks or months before they happen, and employees by and large are often not ready because they've grown accustomed to just getting a paycheck and being comfortable with what they've got, even though they're not providing it, right? So that's one example of where complacency can kind of bite us. There are of course other instances. You think about especially like into your 20s, your metabolism is still pretty good. You can get up and about and eat some pizza and have some cupcakes, and then you hit 30 and like all of a sudden you look in the mirror and every piece of pizza and every cupcake that you've ever had suddenly around your waist.
Parked around the belt line. Yeah.
And or worse, you wind up you wind up a diabetic, but you keep doing what you're doing because you're comfortable with it, and it's not any discomfort isn't uncomfortable enough.
Right. Things like, I'll tell you one of my all-time favorites.
Okay.
Failure to notice when to file taxes.
Ooh.
Yeah. Like, they have rules for that stuff.
Yeah.
And
it's really easy to not file taxes. Like it is so much easier to not file taxes than to file taxes.
It is. Sometimes you learn valuable lessons when you file them finally late. As a consumer, right, I always had, the deal was if the government owed me money, it was no big deal. They didn't bother me about that when they finally paid it. They didn't give me interest, but I didn't ask them permission. On the other side, though, if you do owe the government money, they want interest and penalties and stuff.
Yeah.
I will tell you now, if you're a business person and you own a corporation, do not be delinquent in filing your corporate taxes. That's
probably even more expensive than being delinquent in filing your personal taxes.
Whether they owe you money or not, you owe them money. And I found out the hard way that the penalty is really crazy. So if you're thinking about business and you're not the kind of person who has discipline to file your taxes on time, don't do it. Just go, self-employed.
Yeah.
It cost me several $1,000s.
Ooh.
Filing late.
in like penalties and interest.
And it's progressive, yeah. Because as a corporation, luckily for me, speaking of complacent, it was just me. It was only a single person corporation.
Right.
What I found out later in life, I'm not going to say how I found out the hard way. The penalty they assess is per shareholder or owner. So, if it's me, it's one thing.
Yeah.
If there's three of us, it's times 3. They don't even prorate it. Times 3. So, which reminds me, I have some stuff I have to do now. So, right after this podcast, I got some work to do. So, yeah. So that kind of complacency for me, and I have found really in my life complacency has gotten me because I just didn't think. There's positive mental attitude, which says you can do it, you can make it happen, and then there's oblivion, which just says let's just ignore it until the canoe actually starts over the falls.
Yeah. Yeah, and in our personal lives, complacency is another thing. Like, what could you like? Do you just sit on the couch and watch TV every night? Yeah, because you could go out and meet new people. You could go out and enjoy some music that you'd never heard. You could go out and enjoy some comedy that you'd never heard, and that you never would have run into if you just sat on your couch. But so many of us just stay at home because it's easy. Yeah, it's that sense of security and self-satisfaction, and you don't know what you're missing out on. And really, when we had this conversation off mic, we were speaking in terms that would get us an E on that. But
couple, yeah.
But really, the point is, stir some stuff up.
Yeah. There's no, in actuality, probably boredom, which is what happens when you get real complacent for a long time. Boredom is the cause of more grief, I think, than anything else. I had someone I was talking to someone recently about being bored. Now, I've never been bored except a couple times. And a good friend of mine, I won't name him this time, said to me, "You're bored. I can tell you why you're bored." And I said, "Really? Why might that be?" And he said, "You're bored because you're living entirely within your comfort zone."
And that's complacency, yeah.
And there's nothing in there to challenge you. There's nothing to win. You're just there and you're bored. And the only way you're going to stop being bored is to do something where you have to use some ingenuity. You're going to use some inventiveness. You're going to have to go use your talents that you're not used to using because you're just inside your comfort zone. And one of the best lines I ever heard was from Neale. I can't remember his whole name since I started to say it. The guy who wrote Conversations with God, I believe. He said, "Life begins at the end of your comfort zone." And in every situation that I've really been having a good time, I haven't necessarily been comfortable. Still win, doing things, but I haven't been just sitting there in the middle of, oh yeah, I already got this covered. Not accomplishing anything.
And you don't have to step too far outside your comfort zone, as it turns out. You don't go from never running to running a marathon tomorrow. You don't go from never climbing a mountain to climbing a 14,000 footer tomorrow. You don't go from never having run any sort of budget to being CFO of a Fortune 500 company tomorrow.
Correct.
Incremental steps. If you read any of the flow research, if you read Mihaly, Csikszentmihalyi, or you read Stephen Kotler and Jamie Wheel, a 10% increase in your skills is a huge deal, and it's very conducive to a highly focused state.
10%?
10%. If you're used to running a household budget, say $50,000 a year, and you get offered to run a business budget, small business, $55,000 a year, that's 10%. Just that little bit of increase on your skill set is enough to really trigger some stuff in you.
Oh. So if you try something big, and big isn't even necessarily big, but you just said that. So
yeah.
So something. So boredom. I got rid of my television. I don't have that for. Well, I have it if I want to watch an occasional movie. But generally speaking, I'm not a TV guy. So most of the stuff I do is related to people or computers or stuff like that. So, and it's really easy to get outside your comfort zone there too, because they're always doing something new.
Right.
But even in just stuff in your regular life, there's a lot of people involved in community. We were talking about some of that.
And there's always the ability to learn something else entirely. It doesn't have to be. It can just be something novel. It can be something new, right? Like, if you sit behind a computer most of the day, but you learn how to do something with your hands. I brew beer. That's interesting. It's something that it's interactive. I don't I don't sit behind a computer to do it.
Right.
If you learn how to build a table or a rocking chair. We have a friend who builds rocking chairs for his grandkids.
Mm. Oh, yeah.
That's a skill you could pick up that would take you just outside of your complacent zone.
Ooh, changed the word up on me, didn't you?
I did.
The stuff we're taking for granted. Thinking that there's no changes or danger in view.
And you know what? Sometimes those dangers are not. They're not dangers to your health or your safety, but they're dangers to your mind. We used to call the TV the boob tube.
Mm-hmm.
And said, stop watching all that stuff. It'll rot your brain.
Yeah.
And that's what complacency is, right? It's I can just sit here and stare at this, and I can be generally comfortable, but it's not good for me. Just like
not productive.
I could eat Pop-Tarts for breakfast every day. It's not good for me. But there are lots of different flavors, so I can keep it interesting.
At least that.
So yeah, you've got that to contend with.
So I guess the end result of this is like, go do something.
Get up off your butt and go do something
that you haven't done before. And if you happen to pick up a cause you care about, that'll take you out of complacency pretty quick.
Yeah, definitely will. Definitely will.
And there's certainly enough causes to care about these days.
Well, there have always been enough. It's a matter of, picking one for you. And heck, if you can't find a cause, if you can't find an organization that addresses that cause, then make one. Because you definitely have the tools these days.
You do.
Yeah, you do.
She actually sounded happy there for a second.
Yeah. She's smiling and laughing.
There you go.
At least for the moment, huh?
Moments count.
Yeah.
So. Well, so are you?
That's the takeaway, right?
Yeah. Moments count.
Go do something. And do it in this moment. While you've got a little energy, because we were talking about it, and you're like, yeah, I should get up and stir some stuff up. Go ahead. Go ahead. You don't need permission. Here, if you're looking for permission, here's permission.
To stir some stuff up.
That's right.
Tell it any way you want to. Yeah.
That's right. So, Kelvin, thanks for humoring me with this, and thanks for the coffee talk.
You're welcome.
Hey,
look, I'm getting smiles from Orlando. Look at that. Hey, how you doing?
Everybody, thanks for listening.
We strangers to each other sort of before last week.
That's right. We got to meet in person, and yeah, you know that guy. Everybody, thank you for listening. Go over to iTunes, give us a rating and review. That'll help other people find the show. You can find show notes and more at jkwdpodcast.com. And you can get 10% off your order at Kettle and Fire by going to kettleandfire.com using code BetterHumanhood at checkout. And we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for listening. show notes, and more at jkwdpodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your friends, and we will see you next week. Bye! A Better Humanhood production.